I lead the marketing for two of the biggest creative festivals in the region. But as much as I'd like this to be otherwise, this panel isn't about me. It's about two wonderful panelists that are joining us. Just an FYI, we were supposed to be joined by a live AI robot, but I guess we are going to have to do with humans on this one. So, without spending much more time, allow me to introduce our wonderful panelists on stage. To begin with, I'd like to introduce and welcome Gokul Bajaj. Gokul is the Assistant Vice President of Sales and General Manager of Seven Dubai. With a deep understanding of event technology, Gokul has helped organizations of all sizes adopt innovative solutions for seamless event planning and unforgettable attendee experiences. Please join me in welcoming Gokul to stage, guys. Our next panelist is Sujoy. Sujoy is a renowned creative technologist, futurist, serial entrepreneur, and CEO of Dubai-based Option One Group. Sujoy has led innovations in events and hybrid technologies for over 15 years. His visionary leadership has elevated the company globally, and his compelling speeches continue to inspire and shape the future of technology. Please give a huge round of applause to Sujoy as he makes his way on stage. Welcome, Sujoy. Please. I think I'm just going to change the orientation a bit so I'm a bit more accessible to the both of you. Amazing. Yeah. A very good afternoon, gentlemen. Welcome to the session.
Likewise. Thanks for having us.
I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to set the context for this session, right? Let's kind of address the artificial elephant in the room. AI is part of this session. AI is the belle of the ball, the talk of the town, and I think all of us can agree that's not going to change anytime soon. A lot of us do struggle, however, with AI and technology in general on two aspects. One is, what's the end result? Internally for organizations on the efficiency front, and externally when we think of what kind of attendee or event experiences we can generate. That's one front, and on the second front, I think we struggle with what's the starting point. Are we fair enough to expect that end result today, or do we need to build as maybe a 2 or 3 year timeline to get to that end result? So that's largely what we'll be covering in our 45 minutes today. An expectation that we as professionals or even event professionals have with technology is to make our events better and more different. However, a lot of times we do get stuck on, in the bit of making something different, we get stuck with maybe adding a couple of more roundtables, a few more sessions, or if nothing works, a free lunch. We are almost past that post-pandemic bounce and kind of heading into a, so to say, digital storm without a compass. And thankfully, we have two of you to captain us through that storm. So to set the scene, I'm going to shake things up a bit. Instead of asking this question towards the end of the session, we're going to start with a bang. A hot take on AI and technology with a focus on emerging tech on events from the both of you. Your hot take to begin with. I'll begin with Sujoy on this one.
Okay. I think I had prepared for this differently, but I've got to go with what's trending right now on social media. And I talked about this topic in Vegas at the Digital Signage Expo back in November, when a lot of people from the audience asked me, what about privacy in AI? So all the gimmicks and everything that happens on the front end all boils down to how much of data is being picked up from consumers. And back then, I kept saying it, and through several sessions over the last 6 months, it all boils down to which hardware provider wins the race in creating a solution based on Edge AI, which is on-device processing. And now Apple has announced that just 2 nights ago at the WWDC. So with the power of on-device computing, which means your data is now staying within your device, and you're able now to have that confidence that your content, your data is private, it's within your device, it gets encrypted when it leaves your device, even if it's within the local cloud of Apple, and then giving you customized experiences. So I'm seeing this as a huge potential when it comes to gamified experiences and data-driven logic at the back end, where individual app developers in the industry are now creating unique experiences within events, and gives the end user the confidence that their data is now private on device. I think that's going to be the game changer, and that's the next step towards everybody in the industry that's building on the need for data privacy and creating unique unique experiences for the end user. In the end, it's all about the end user game, right? The success is about masses being satisfied with an experience.
Yeah, I think Apple has hit the nail on the head with privacy over their branding over the last few years. But I think that's a great point. Gokul, your hot take on AI, obviously, but also to Sujoy's point, he touched upon privacy and ethics as a major concern, and his hot take to that's going to be the future and that's going to be the demand. Obviously, you work much more closely on the demand side. Care to weigh in on that? Is that something that you are seeing as a requirement from clients, or is that something you're pitching very actively?
Yeah, no, absolutely. To start with, I wish I could say, Alexa, lower down the volume, but I can't. Yeah, so look, let me break this down and make it more contextual to events. Look, let's peel back the onion. Let's start with meetings and events. They empower human connection, so that will happen. To throw some stats around it, meetings and events contribute about $1 trillion of global economy. 24% of a marketeer's budget is spent on meetings and events. Now, why am I rattling these stats out is because I think all of us in the room agree to the fact that events are critical and they generate business. Now, with that being said, so many other industries have been digitized, but I wouldn't say events, I would say events are still a laggard. It's not where it should be, so we have a lot of ground to cover. So yes, there is a lot of demand for AI, but it's not a patch fix. AI is consequential to good data collection habits. So that's the part that we need to fix first. Like, make sure that we bring digitization, just the way we brought digitization to all our marketing efforts. Like today, even if you barely click on a website, it gets recorded. We know your IP, we know where your mouse was, how much time you spent. So millions of dollars are spent on a behavior of a visitor who's probably on a website for like 10 seconds or maybe a minute. But as event planners, we're not doing enough to capture the footprint of an attendee who's a captive audience, listening to you for maybe 3 hours to a couple of days. So first, that bit needs to be digitized. Once that is done, then AI is going to be magical. Because then AI is going to be doing the talking. It's going to tell you things that you couldn't uncover yourself. So I think it is inevitable, but it's not a patch fix. It has to first start with good data collection habits, data identification habits, and then everything would fall in place.
That's actually a very interesting segue. So I'm going to take you up on that comment. So let's get to the brass tasks, right? So we are in this session here today. We know that when we entered here, even when we entered at the main entrance, our badges were scanned.
Yeah.
Beyond that, can you give us a few examples of what you would say to be collected right here, right now, in terms of that engagement to give that rich foundation to AI?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first of all, I think we got rechecked in at this breakout session, so that's another data point. If everybody had a mobile app where we would have built some integration and engagement through the app itself. So let's say during a conversation, we could run a few surveys, maybe do a live poll, do a Q&A, or any other comment, or maybe just a social amplification. Maybe, I know some people are taking pictures, maybe just post picture with a comment. So there is that quantifiable data. At least when I go back now, I'll be able to tell that from an audience of, let's say, 40 odd people, what were the engagement levels? And perhaps define a weighted score around everything. So somebody took the pain of taking a picture, I mean, that person may be tuned in. Right? So maybe I'll award that person 25 points. Somebody took the survey, I'll give him 20 points. So then I can slice my audience. I could say that 80% of the people were highly engaged, 20% moderately engaged. That data could then be used to maybe put them in some sort of a nurture campaign for my next event. So my highly engaged attendees care about learning about AI. So next time I'm doing a session or an event dedicated to AI, these guys are the first ones that I would market to.
Yeah. Amazing. Are we saying that this is the kind of data that we then input into an AI or a tech software which then churns out something more actionable for us?
Absolutely. That's exactly what will happen. So look, I think we've all learned how to digitize our offerings, and of course there's some ground to be covered. Once we digitize, we're sitting on this dump of data which we can't make sense of unless you guys are, super cool with your Excel skills. And that's where these prompt-based AIs come in. Like, you could just dump data on those prompts and say, give me a trend of how my sessions around AI have been. Which speakers are a hit with the audience, which are not, based on the survey. Or if it's generative, that the AI could, or you could just say, hey AI, give me a summary of my last 14 events that I've done. It's going to extract data from different pieces and then give you a very high-level summary and some commentary and perhaps even some prediction on what you should do or a suggestion on what you should do in your next event.
I'm going to come back to you on a bit more, digging a bit more deep on this in a few minutes. But Sujoy, to that point, can you give me a couple of examples? Obviously, you deal much more on the supply side when it comes to experiences with emerging tech.
Yeah.
On the end result, can you give a couple of examples of how it has evolved, or recent examples of what that end result actually was in terms of an experience on the floor?
When it comes to AI deployment, right now it's been more gamified experiences for us. We've integrated obviously APIs that communicate with like OpenAI or other applications like Noor or Falcon, which are UAE-based AI platforms, and we've gamified the experience because when a person communicates and gives a prompt, one of the things is obviously the worry for the client on the client side is what the AI is going to answer back. So that was one big challenge which we had to overcome, to add a level of filters that would restrict the AI from answering things which are culturally incorrect or politically or so you can have keywords, but then you still need to have a human intervention if you want to have this open conversation with an AI. So that has very successfully been deployed in the last year for us. In fact, our event last month in Geneva for the AI for Good conference was an event about AI and how governments of the world are going to put rules and regulations on how AI is used and consumed, and what kind of rating should be given to AI. There was such a lot of discussion with Sam Altman live at the event, and his take on what would be the next generation of ChatGPT 5, 6, 7, what's coming next, AGI, and all those visions of how people think AI is going to take over the world. It's just a new industrial revolution. It's about how we use it in different ways in our event space. But for me, the future is more about like what Gokul has mentioned about processing data efficiently in real time. I'm imagining an event where my team can sit and have a command control center live at an event like this, and I can see, okay, there are people that have been profiled that have chosen live events as their preferred vertical in the events industry, and there's a session going on live events. I want just those people to get a prompt and saying session on live events starting in 5. And then I move crowd towards that event. And then like you said, within a session like this, having to take live polls is more practical than me getting a prompt or an email 2 days after the event with 5 pages. I will never spend my time on those 5 pages and saying, okay, because I didn't attend half the sessions. I'd rather be targeted for the sessions I attended or zones that I stepped into. Again, using beacons, using other third-party hardware, you can track and geofence locations within the area, so you can get heat maps, so you know which areas did well, which stands did well, and then pick up that data and then in real time take decisions. When you know something special is happening with the event, you can send out information to the entire audience. And again, when will the audience allow push notifications? When they know that they are getting something in return, and their data is the privacy is taken care of. So that's a learning curve over time. I think once the education is out there and people understand what settings on their device allows them to keep their data private, and then creates these very unique experiences. I would imagine a world where walking into, like, I don't know how many of you have experienced this at Dubai airport, for example, using, as a resident, you don't even remove your passport anymore. You have your e-gate. I just walk through the channel, baggage scan, I'm in the lounge. So that was an amazing experience, right? Again, removing your passport, check. Remove your passport again, check. Again, check.
It's the top 3 incentives for expats to come to this nation.
Yeah, right? So now imagine that happening at an event where you come to an event like this, you're not standing in a queue, scan a QR code, get a badge printed. I want to walk in freely. My face is scanned. The security knows that I'm a registered user. If I'm not, I'm just diverted to a place where I go and register. And then I walk through and every location knows where I am. And then I get a gamified experience in different zones to let me engage on certain topics.
So let me get this right. I think from what both of you gentlemen have just spoken about, it seems twofold. One is to use the data and the insights that we get through these AI platforms to make more informed decisions about the future as event organizers. But on the event floor, I think we're in the space of making that customer journey more convenient and more easier.
100%.
But I'm going to open this up to both of you. And disclaimer: do make a note. There would be a lot of softwares and names being thrown around. So do make a note of these. You can probably get a free trial tomorrow. You touched upon a couple of softwares there. Also, Gokul, when you spoke about capturing the data, a lot of times, at least in my experience, the kind of data that you capture usually gets buried either in an Excel sheet deep in your drive or in a post-show report to show your sponsors a couple of times at the most. What are some of those tools that can be used to crunch that kind of a data, not make it more work for us professionals, but still give us those insights for future? Do you have any tools that can be used by event professionals? Feel free to name a few names if you can.
I'm really bad with names. I have them on my phone, so maybe I can take a quick sneak peek. But the bottom line is, like, it is so easily accessible. Like, you know, it's not like there are some industry standards that are being set right now. Because look, guys, this is so nascent. It's being built as we speak.
Yeah.
And every day, every other day, you will see somebody coming up with a stronger offering. So even if you just do a Google search, like whatever's coming on your mind, like generative AI for Excel report, sort of a summary, you find enough information. And then there are these free tools and there are these paid tools. Depending on your appetite, you could start with something and then grow from there. So there's enough and more already available. Most of them is free, so I would encourage you guys to get your hands dirty. And once you think it's working for you, maybe then it's worthwhile investing in something that's more license and purchase based.
Yeah, I think it all boils down to what volumes you're dealing with. And like you rightly said, each industry has got its own verticals. Yeah. So when you're dealing with masses, which means general public, like concerts, festivals, etc., you're dealing with a large number of people with different age groups. But when you're doing corporate events or industry-specific events like these, you're not dealing with children, you're dealing with adults. So the tools that you would use, you have to always ask the question is, on the front end, is it user-friendly enough for your audience? And on the back end, are you linking in the entire journey? It's about jotting down the first contact with your consumer and then the last contact, which is post-event. If all of that journey is interlinked, because today with APIs, you have so many ways of linking the collection of data, processing of data, and then the gamified experiences, and then on-site and then off-site. All of that could be processed and linked together. You don't need to always find one solution provider will do everything. If you have that, then that's a jack of all trades. Right? So you don't want that. You want to find the pros in each industry and then get the right people to link all of this together so that you have a user journey, end user journey from the first contact right up to the end, which is so seamless, and then you'll start to see the magic happening because now everything is linked. And you can look at the brands that do that have succeeded for this very reason. Why is Apple where it is today? It's because of its ecosystem. What has it done? Just drawn the lines between hardware, software, content, experience, and then linked all that into their ecosystem. But everybody's not an Apple to afford to do that, right? You're not $1 trillion company. So you need to work with the right partners and then find the right APIs, package it together, and then create these unique experiences for the end user. For me, it always boils down to that. How can I reduce 5 steps into 1? Or how can I reduce 2 steps into none? So if my end user has nothing to do, and that's what today's generation is all about, I don't want to do anything, and everything has to just come to me. You know, I don't want to learn anything. It has to be fed into my brain like the Matrix. Put a USB, and then now I can fly the aircraft, right? So that's unfortunately today's generation, and you want to be sure that you can somehow tick those boxes and say everything is so seamlessly integrated, and all I need to do is this one step. After I've registered, there's nothing more to do. I get a follow-up notification. I'm notified about how to get to the venue. I'm given guidance when I get there. How do I move around the venue? How do I find my preferred brands within the space?
And also those guidance is based on your preferences of the past, right?
It's all about preferences.
Yeah. Like you have a personal chauffeur taking you around knowing your preferences.
Yeah.
It's funny, I wanted to actually ask Gokul about this, that when you're dealing with clients, obviously working on the sales side at such a senior level, are you seeing these requests coming in when you deal with RFPs that yes, we want this extent of data collection, we want this kind of enriching information post-event, post-festival, and is that considered a lot of times for repeat sponsorship next year as well?
Absolutely, you hit the nail on its head. RFPs are getting far more detailed. I mean, I'm glad that the buyers are coming in with far more education than what it was maybe pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
I think the only good thing that came out of the pandemic was accelerated digitization, right? So I think when these RFPs come in, they're far more detailed. They have all the touch points already mapped out, right? And the good thing is, look, AI is not an ask. The ask is, like Sujoy said, is either experience, both on the attendee side or on the user side.
Right.
So AI is not the ask. AI is the medium to get to that experience. So let me allude to that a little more, because we were speaking about it earlier. In one of the events that we organized, it was a virtual event. And at the risk of sounding salesy, I'm going to talk about my technology, I'm sorry. But so we offered AI-based matchmaking, right? So what happened was these virtual attendees, based on their selections that they'd made during the pre-registration process and the sessions they'd attended. So there was this AI crunching all that data and grouping these people together. And these guys would then put into a speed dating format. So you enter a virtual room, you don't know who you're going to meet next, and that meeting is like quick and painless, 4-5 minutes. But the person that you're meeting is likely coming in with some same interest or same behavioral pattern.
Yeah.
Right? So what we observed was, once that session was done, it was only 35 minutes, I think 7 minutes or 5 minutes, 7 meetings each, something like that. It had a rating of 9.7, the highest rated session. Another example that I saw, this was not my company, another company, this event that happened in DC. Again, I'm bad with names, so I can't recall their name. So what these guys did, they had a facial recognition check-in, which of course, we've all witnessed. Now here's the cool part. We get pictures taken all around the event. Sometimes at the booth, sometimes when we're walking the floor, sometimes even eating. So what this AI does, it picks your face and matches to all the pictures that were taken at the event, and then sends you a summary of wherever you were spotted.
Wow.
So how cool is that? So no more do you have to go and ask for their Facebook or Instagram and then scout through 1,000 pictures to find the ones where you're listed, and then to find the ones where you look good. so yeah, I think that's where these technologies really come in handy.
I can see how the convenience can then go beyond just giving convenience to either the attendee or the event organizer. I think it gives convenience to both parties, other stakeholders as well. Moving on, I think we've touched upon a lot for personalized content, experiences, convenience to the customer journey, and a lot on data, obviously.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pivot to a more macro level technology, or more exciting one, so to say. There's a lot of talk about mixed realities, augmented realities, VR, but more often than not, these are expensive to give us experiences, and I think we were having a very candid conversation about this, and I stopped you right then. I said I'm going to hold you up on that on stage, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. A lot of times these technologies to give these experiences are expensive unless they are sponsored. As event organizers, if we want to incorporate these experiences ourselves, regardless of they being sponsored or not, how do you see that business case being developed? Because obviously you can't have, say, 100 people in the room to all have AR goggles, or you just have to have a booth which is again sponsored. Do you see that happening in the near future, or is it still at a nascent stage? Platform open to the both of you.
I think it's all about the parallel evolution of the manufacturing industries that provide the hardware for the content industry, right? So the whole game is about these two industries parallelly working with each other and then feeding the need for the consumer.
Right.
I'll give an example of something that failed in the past.
Okay.
So we remember 10 years ago, every big movie that released came out with the option for 3D viewing, right? And then the first one was, of course, Avatar.
Yes.
And we said, okay, this was shot in 4K and it's like shot in 3D, and you have glasses which are active or passive depending on which kind of cinema infrastructure you went and you watched. And then came the consumer edition, which was you can buy a TV now with 3D. Even though you got free glasses with the TV, how many of us have a 3D TV at home today? And where you have glasses and like every time you all sit as a family, everybody wears glasses and watch. Nah, doesn't happen, right? So it was a failed tech. You still do have movies that run in 3D, but it's not anymore there because it was not ready for the consumer level.
What you're trying to say is it shouldn't be experiences for the experience's sake. It should be something that actually adds value.
That should be practical. So today, I don't ever see somebody having the virtual reality glasses like even Meta in their household. And even if you do, how many people are going to carry? Now you already have a phone to carry or an iPad, and then now you'll carry a virtual reality glass with you or a mixed reality. You're not going to carry that around with you. Unless it becomes a pair of glasses like you're wearing. Right? And that's where the industry is heading towards. So I was at CES in Vegas this year, and that's a consumer tech event, the world's biggest. And the number of brands that have evolved from doing VR headsets into AR glasses is phenomenal. So it's a matter of time before you have the option on regular glasses that people would wear that you can stick in your pocket, which would have the battery power to run, 8 hours a day. And you wear it and you have a choice by just tapping, and then you're seeing augmented experiences. Now when that becomes a regular household product is when you can integrate XR experiences for the general public.
En masse, yes.
Right? So I'd be more than happy to say, okay, I buy $100 worth pair of glasses, which now gives me augmented experiences, not only at home in a controlled environment, but also at every event. Or any place that I go to in a mall where I'm directed, I'm getting directions. I no more need to go to a kiosk. I'm just told where to go by just wearing glasses, and and the UI is super simplified, right?
Absolutely.
So it's that when the hardware reaches there at consumer level is when we can start integrating. Otherwise, it's always going to be restricted to a very few audience. And now again, post-pandemic, people are scared to wear used glasses. And then you have to add, the element of protection. So,
absolutely.
So there's that fine line right now. So I think it's a matter of time before hardware reaches where it is. I see a lot of people investing in that space. XReal is one of them. You all can check them out online. Movie and several other brands that are working on glass level hardware. I think the only challenge right now is the battery, because glasses that light and slim, it really would be a tough task to give them the battery life required. But then there are the big brands like Meta also that's working with Ray-Ban, and they've come up with the Meta Quest, which is just a pair of Ray-Bans, but they don't have augmented experiences, but they have AI built in. It's a matter of time before the next generation comes with AI built in.
I think having that clarity as to where to draw the line between having something just for the sake of it and having a purpose behind it is the kind of learning that, or the skill set that I think professionals need. And I wanted to shift the conversation, Gokul, with you on this. We have spoken about the technology side of it, but what about the learning and development side of it? I remember a couple of years back, there was this new job title called prompt engineer, which a lot of big universities now are offering diplomas and specializations in. Do you see a future where we would have a job title, I don't know, say an event experiences engineer or an event tech engineer? And more interestingly, in the sales side of it, when you look at new recruits for your team, are you looking at a specific technologic skill set for a platform, or just a general idea and being tech savvy on a whole? How do you see that evolving?
I mean, who knows where the industry would be like 5 years from now, how well it's adopted. So maybe we'll be in a better position to comment then. But the way things stand right now, it is more of a skill from an application standpoint for people like us. Yes, today the highest paid jobs are for data science and LLM engineers, but that's more on the technical side of things. But I think us who are event enthusiasts, we just need to learn the application side of prompting. And there are numerous courses. Again, if you just go online, you will find free courses. But there are universities who are offering sophisticated. Even Harvard is offering a sophisticated course for 12 months. And all these big universities have added AI to their curriculum, right? So that's available. But a great starting point would be just learning how to prompt so that your day-to-day becomes a little easy. So let's say, for example, if you're curating content for an event, if you get AI to do a spot check and take some learnings, again, try and humanize it, because sometimes AI can be overly sophisticated and overly correct, which is, and we're all full of defects, and we like to see some defects in our communication. True. Right? So get something that's perfect and then mess it up a little so that it looks original, right? So as of now, the requests that we get, or the kind of talent pool that's being hired, if you've done something around the application of generative AI, that's good. If you can prove that, that's good. But it's not like it's becoming like a educational qualification as yet. Who knows where it's going to be 5 to 10 years from now.
So what you're saying, it's more of an appetite-based and an attitude-based kind of quality you're looking at, that a person should not be averse to using these applications and open to using them.
It's like look, I could do data crunching on a register with pen and paper and a calculator, or I could use an Excel. Which is better?
That shift you're looking
Excel. But if I have to build a website, are you going to take 5 days to do it, or can you turn it around in 45 minutes? Because let me use your mind for the things that this thing can't solve right now. So you are always, as humans, we're always trying to be a step ahead of technology and be the master of the technology, right? Don't be a slave to the technology. So if you're a step ahead, if you're the one who's judiciously using that technology to your advantage, that's a skill that I want right now.
Sujay, do you agree with that? Anything to add? Because we have around approximately 10 minutes to go, and I do want to keep some time for audience Q&As as well.
No, I definitely echo what he said. Prompt engineering is something that is required also in our industry, and I don't see that as a job opening right now, but it's each individual within the organization that needs to find a way to speed track his evolution in increasing productivity and time management. Because right now for me, I just see very quick reviews just for finding errors in a draft, right? So we're doing a voiceover, client has approved it. There's always a risk that there could be some typo there. So slap it in, get it checked. Otherwise it's being it's in queue for our content specialist to now go through it and then check it and then validate it. So now at admin level, I could say, validate data way in advance before it even reaches senior management. Absolutely. So it's about increasing productivity within the organization, and prompt engineering is not really rocket science in our industry at least. So if you're generating images, it's as simple as not just giving the prompt of what you want, but also you'll see the difference when you write a prompt and you tell the AI what you don't want to see. Most of the prompts today everybody puts on ChatGPT is what they want. Give me this. It doesn't say, but do not give me this. And you'll see that automatically correct, because now your image generation or the content that's being written by the AI is now more precise and ignoring the fact that you asked for something and then not considering what you don't want. Because when you put in a prompt and saying that do not include 1, 2, 3, that makes a big difference to the output. I think start from there and you'll see the magic happen.
Amazing. Thank you, Sujay. Thanks, Gokul, as well. I'm going to open the floor for audience questions. I'm sure there might be some. If you can just raise your hand for any questions you may have for the two panelists. We have one right here in the front.
Hello, good afternoon, and thank you for the panel here. The real elephant in the room is the privacy and data ownership. In a real life scenario, who should own the data? Is it the service provider, is it the client, or is it the event company?
That's a great question, and that is one of the concerns of AI. Like, when you're pushing data onto someone else's server, look, that's where I think you got to be judicious with what you want to start with, because I think the data processes that you have right now for all the tasks that we've been doing so far, I'm just leaving AI out of the equation. I'm just talking about data collection processes. So for example, like your Google, it is a data collection. Like CVent, because it's collecting data on the attendee side of things. They have been, technologies like these have been there for a while. They've been compliant with GDPR, CCPA, etc., all those, and even Saudi PDPL, etc. So you know that your data is protected. But now when you take your data and park it someplace else for processing, we're not sure, because that place is still evolving. So maybe you need to be a little judicious about what sort of data do you want to park. If I was you, I wouldn't park anything that's sensitive. I would only do something that's just a data point. Like for example, a survey response in a Likert scale. Like, how did you rate this speaker from 1 to 10? I think that's something that I'm okay to park. But I'm not going to pass somebody's flight, hotel, and passport details onto a prompt-based system just yet. Till the time I get the assurance that where I'm parking, the data has the same level of privacy protocols and protection that I have with my other data processes.
I think just to add to that, I have seen quite a few companies, obviously depends on the scale of your organization as well, have artificial intelligence toolkits established, like even from the HR department for your own employee data right to the marketing department for the kind of data. And although it says very basic things for most of it, apart from a few newer things or a few details or specifications you may not know of, it is actually a handy tool, because as long as you know that your company or organization is cognizant of this, that changes your attitude automatically, rather than you knowing that yes, I need to be mindful of this, but not having that on an organizational level. So I think depending on what your role is at the organization, how senior, whether you have a team under you, I think it's also up to us to make sure that everybody knows that we are mindful of this, and I think that
Let me just add to that, and I think this is going to give you this analogy would help you understand this a lot better. Do you guys remember when we pivoted to cloud computing? Like everything was moved over to the cloud. So everything was on local servers back in the day, and then cloud came in. So initially, people were very hesitant on parking their information on public cloud. So what did we start with? We came with private clouds as well. That listen, it's still on the cloud, but well within your control. And that's what you're seeing. You're going to see a shift, like a hybrid model, where this computation is going to be local and on cloud. So you get to choose what part of data can be computed locally and what should be on the cloud. And eventually, once we've garnered enough faith and stress tested these systems, we'll be in a position where we'll be happily moving everything over to the cloud. Right? So, like, I think Microsoft has already done that, right? With their
Copilot.
new Surface. No, Copilot is, of course, their AI. But with the new Surface that they've launched, they've created local computation. So, because they don't want you to use your internet every time you want to do some high-level computation. So, they've built some computation capability on the laptop itself. So, on your local drive, you'll be able to use AI. And then for the more, I would say, more intensive tasks, or the tasks that haven't been defined in the local piece, it's going to go back to the cloud and fetch information.
I hope that answered your question. So, Joy, anything to add to that, or?
Yeah, I think I started the session by saying that with this new direction towards local computing, like Apple has announced now, I think it'll be a game changer. There will have to be people who will follow.
Right.
So every other brand is going to now follow that direction on privacy, and that's when people will feel more secure, because now your data is within your device. Luckily, technology has evolved. The chipsets that are there right now, your Apple devices with the M2 and M3 and above have got computing power that can do 1 trillion tasks in 1 second. So there's lots that can happen on device, and then if required, it goes into local clouds like Gokul mentioned. And then it's your choice, where you'd get a prompt from devices, which Apple now has promised, giving that security. Same would be, I'm sure Google would follow suit, and all the other platforms, where you would be prompted if you want your information now to go to an open source, or say no, and then make it private. Because we're already seeing that option now. Earlier we had websites, you were being tracked, you didn't know. Now on Safari and on Chrome, you get a pop-up and saying, do you want to accept all cookies, or go and personalize those options and say just the necessary cookies for performance, and I don't want marking, I don't want tracking, or whatever. So those are default pop-ups now that we're used to. I still know that many people that just say okay and go on, but I would say it's all about education. People need to start changing the way they engage now online, and make sure that you go and see your privacy settings when these pop-ups come. And the same thing is going to happen on smart devices. So you would have the option to say what goes out and what stays with you.
Absolutely. Any other questions from the audience? Thank you.
Hello. Yeah, so my question is for both the panel members. You've mentioned that if you Google search, we'll come across a bunch of paid and free platforms for testing out the AI concept here. I want to know your take in regards with the cost effectiveness of adopting AI. In regards with, will it cause consumer gap? In the sense, for example, like you've given the example of Apple here. Many of us, as consumers, we're still not owning iPhones. Like, if you understand what I mean by that, is because of the cost effectiveness, and it's not as available for the general public to adopt and use. So, what's your take on that? Do you think the AI would be only for a specific target market, or will it be adopted by the general public, like commercialized? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good question. The way things stand right now, it is pretty economical. And look, I think the analogy that you pick is hardware versus SaaS. SaaS is always cheaper because that's something that you subscribe to. It's a plug-and-play model. Unlike an iPhone, where you have to make a upfront investment.
Yeah.
So you don't have to do that. The good thing about AI right now is it depends on the task that you have at hand. Look, if you get into sophisticated video editing and using AI to generate videos and images for you, that will require some serious computational power. So which means it will require investments into your hardware. and perhaps even the licenses that you're buying. But I think where AI stands, and for what most of us, the 200 active million users on ChatGPT, what they're using is just to find answers on maybe some level of data computation, some level of just grammatical correction. So that right now is free for most part and very economically priced. I think what we need to realize it, like I'm sure some of you would have read this book by Stephen Covey, 7 Effective Habits of Highly Successful People. There's a chapter that says begin with the end in mind. So anytime you do an exercise, think about what is it that you want to get out of it, and then work backwards to see what fits. Because like I said, no technology is a patch fix, because you will be losing money there. But if you know that yes, this is the outcome that I want, I'm going to work backwards, and AI fits in, computational AI fits in the grand scheme of things. This is the output. So that output is going to justify your cost, no matter if it's in the millions, that output would justify. So that would be my humble suggestion. Yeah.
See, I think the general public right now is looking at an evolution of the Google platform, right? That was our go-to these days. Maybe Google, Bing, Yahoo, whatever. It was to find answers. But then we realized eventually ad-based prompts would put certain things on top, and then you do not know what information is accurate. What AI is doing now is obviously processing that for you and giving you one answer, right? And that's majorly what people are using, and that's what even the technologies that are there today, platforms that are there today, are using this tech on the back end. Microsoft has announced Copilot, you have Gemini with Google, and now you have Apple, which is calling it Apple Intelligence instead of AI, but it's all the same thing. It's all working on the back end. Apple is also integrating with ChatGPT at a higher level. So it's, like he said, it's about your choice of hardware and what fits the budget of the consumer or at an event. There is a solution there on the back end which works. So it's where you want to start and to what level do you want to use here. If you're looking at image editing, it of course is available now with many platforms, including Photoshop, where simple things that would take you hours to fix, now you put things together and you let the Adobe AI do it for you. And so many other ways. You're already probably using it in the Google photo library and in the Apple photo library. It's similar options but packaged in different ways, where you get recommendations of people, memories from a particular trip, or separate the person from the background and then create these stickers, right? This is, what is it? It's all AI. It's AI been working on the back end, which is helping these things get done. So there's a solution on every platform. I think it's just about finding a way around it.
I think as much as you'd like to field more questions, I am getting a signal from the back to stop this. But I think I'm speaking for both the gentlemen here. I think Sujay and Gokul are more than happy to field any questions off the stage if anyone wants to approach them. Sorry, I'm just putting you on the spot there. So yeah, you can do that. Anyways, thank you. Thanks Sujay, thanks Gokul. Thank you everyone for joining our session. Hope you have a good day and good night as well.
Yeah.
See you.
Thanks to MEES for having us here.